Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Lora Rolling and this is part 1 of the Merry Christmas Ornaments tutorial. This is the Merry Christmas ornament that we are making. It is so cute and colorful. I love it so much. And today we're going to be doing the unit called First Lowlights. We just have a few materials to get ready, so let's get them listed and then we can get started. Let's go. So the beads that we're going to be using in today's video are all Miyuki Delicas. I have opaque black, silver lined green, silver lined light blue, purple lined crystal, and dyed silver lined red. Just to keep it simple, I'm going to call this black, green, blue, purple, and red. We'll also need some beading thread and a beading needle. I like to use the Eslon Fire in the color crystal, and I like the 4-pound thread. You could also use 6-pound thread in this project. And then I also like to use a size 10 beading needle. You could also use a size 11 or 12 if that's what you have. For implements, I like to use my long nose pliers to hold onto my thread at the end of the video, and then I cut my thread with scissors. And then in the beginning, the way I end my tail is by using the fire method, and I'm going to show you in today's video. So all we need to do is thread our needle with 3 feet of thread, and then we can get started. So I've threaded my needle, and now let's pick up our first 3 beads, which are 3 black beads. Then we're going to take our 3 beads and we're going to pull them down to the bottom of our thread, leaving about a 6-inch tail. Now let's tie a square knot. We'll cross over on the top, and then we will pull our tail through. And then once again, let's cross over on the top, and then we pull our tail through. So now we have what looks like a little snowman. Now I'm going to keep my 2 fingers in the lower loop, the one that has the beads, and I'm going to pull on the tail thread and the long thread until that top loop turns into a knot. Now I'm going to take my tail, and I'm not going to touch it to the flame, but I'm going to get it super close. And that melts the very tip into this little teensy bead or knot. Now I'm going to tug on the long thread while I'm twisting the loop in with my 2 fingers until that little singed knot touches the long thread. Now I'm going to take my thumbnail and I'm going to pull that knot down to the 3 beads until it turns into a little triangle. And that completes row number 1. Now, if you notice, the knot is like right between those 2 beads. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tug the long thread until that knot is much closer to one of the beads. And it looks like the thread is coming out of one of the beads. So now let's pick up our next 2 beads, which are 2 black beads. Now it looks like we're coming out of this bead right here, so we're going to sew through the bead that it's not coming out of. And then we're going to try to get those beads to sit right on top of the other beads as best we can. That knot kind of gets in the way, but it should look something like that. Now let's pick up 2 more black beads, And we're coming out of this bead, so let's sew through the next bead. Once again, trying to get those new beads to sit right on top of their buddies. Now let's pick up 2 more black beads. And we're coming out of this bead, we're going to sew through the next bead, and we're also going to sew through the bead right below it. So each time we sew through 2 beads, that is our way of stepping up and getting our thread into position to start the next row. So that means that we've actually completed our second row. So let's start our third row by picking up 2 black beads and sewing through the next bead. And then let's pick up 1 black bead. And we're coming out of this bead, the second one right there, and we're going to skip the bead that's set downward. We're going to sew through the one that's poking up, and we're going to call that our up bead. Now let's pick up 2 green beads and sew through the next bead. Always making sure that those beads sit right on top of their buddies. Now let's pick up 1 black bead. Skipping the down bead, we're going to sew through the up bead. Now let's pick up 2 black beads and sew through the next. And let's pick up 1 black bead. This is our last bead in this row. We're skipping the down bead. We're going to sew through the up bead and the bead right below it. So sewing through 2 beads, we are stepping up, and now we get to start row number 4. Let's start by picking up 2 black beads and sew through the next. Pick up 1 blue bead and sew through the up bead. Pick up 1 green and sew through the up. I turn my work as I go, making it easier for me to sew. That might help you also if you want to do it that way. Now let's pick up 1 black and 1 purple and sew through the next. Pick up 1 purple and sew through the up. Pick up 1 black and sew through the up. Let's pick up 2 black and sew through the next. One black and sew through the up. Our last bead in this row is going to be 1 black, sew through the up and the bead below it. And that completes row number 4. Let's start row number 5. Pick up 2 black beads and sew through the next. One blue then one blue, then one black, two black, one purple, one black, one black, two black beads, oops, if I go too fast, I yank it right out of my own hand. One black, one black, and one black, sewing through the last two beads, and now we get to start row number 6. Let's start with two black beads, one black, one blue, one black, one black, two black, one purple, one purple, one black, one black, two black beads, one black, one black, one black, and one black, sewing through the last two beads, and now we get to start row number 7. Let's start with two black beads, one black, one blue, one blue, one black, one black, two black beads, one black, one purple, one black, one black, 1 black, 2 black beads, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, and 1 black, sewing through the last 2 beads, and now we get to start row number 8. Let's start with 2 black beads, 1 black, 1 black, 1 blue, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 2 black beads, 1 black, 1 black, 1 green, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 2 black beads, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, and 1 black, sewing through the last 2 beads. And now we get to start row number 9. Let's start with 1 red and 1 black. One black, one black, one green, one black, one black, one black, one black, two black beads, one black, 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 2 black beads, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, and 1 black. Sewing through the last 2 beads. And now let's start row number 10 with 1 red and 1 green, 1 black, 1 black, 1 green, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 2 black beads, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 green, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 2 green beads, 1 green, 1 green, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 red. Sewing through the last 2 beads. I only got through 1 and 2. There we go. Now let's start row 11 with 1 black and 1 green, 1 black, 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 2 black beads, 1 black, 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 2 black beads, 1 green, 1 green, 1 green, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 green, and 1 red. Sewing through the last 2 beads. And now we get to start row number 12. Let's start with 2 black beads, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 green, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 2 black beads, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 green, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 green, 2 black beads, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 green, 1 black, 1 black, 1 black, 1 green, 1 red, and 1 red. Sewing through the last 2 beads. Oh, I only got through 1 again, and 2. And now we have completed 12 rows of our unit. Now, if this is the first triangle you've ever done with me, we add connection rows. We also cap the corners. And the reason we add connection rows is we like to connect our units together to complete the ornament and surround the little plastic ornament all together. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cap this corner, which turns it into a point. So let's cap this corner with 1 black bead. And now we're not going to add any beads to this side, but we are going to add beads to the second side, and we're not going to add any beads to the top of this unit. So to make it simple for me, if you notice there's a little kind of a dome or a concave on this unit because my thumb has been pressing while I'm sewing. So just to make it easier for me, I like to flip my unit over just like this. And now we're coming out of this bead. I like to sew up each bead without picking up any new ones. We're just going to sew through following this quadrant line, and we're going to end in this top corner right here. So let's sew through one at a time. I like to follow the unit line or the quadrant line, but you don't have to. As long as you're sewing through 1 bead per row, that will hide your thread, and as long as you end up in this corner bead, then that is the goal. So while I'm sewing up, I like to do the question of the day, and today's question comes from me thinking while I designed this ornament, I was pondering whether or not I wanted to do multicolored lights or just one color of light. And then it got me thinking, I wonder, multicolor always just adds lots of different colors to the ornament, and that's why I decided to do multi. But it got me wondering, do you put multicolored lights on your house, or your decorations, or on your tree, or do you just do the white lights? I personally like to do the white lights outside on the house, but then when it comes to my tree, my kids generally like multicolored, so I put multicolored on the big tree. I have lots of trees that I do. Some are super teeny, but I always do the multi-lights on the inside tree, on the big tree. So let me know down below in the comments if you like the white lights or the multi-lights when it comes to decorating your home. Let me know. Alrighty. We are now coming out of this top corner bead, so let's cap this corner with 1 black bead, turning it into a point, and now we're going to add black beads all the way up this side. I'm going to call them out for you. 1 black, 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 and 1 black. Now we are at our third and final corner, so let's cap it with 1 black bead, turning it into a point. And now we're going to secure that bead by sewing up 6 beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we're coming out of the top of this bead, so let's switch directions and sew down the bead right next to it, and then sew up the bead right next to that one. That zigzag makes this little corner bead a little more secure. So let's now sew up 2 beads, 1 and 2, and we will do that zigzag again. We're coming out of the top of this bead. Let's sew down the bead right next to it and up the bead right next to that one. And now this is super secure, so let's just sew up 2 more beads, 1 and 2. We didn't skip any rows, so we don't see any threads at all. And now we can cut our thread. So let's hold our thread with our long nose pliers and then get our scissors as close to the bead as possible without cutting it, and just cut that thread right off. Now you have completed your first low lights unit. We only need 1 of these, so I will see you in a second. That was so much fun. Thank you so much for being here with me today and beading along with me. Remember to like and subscribe and hit that bell button so you're notified when the next video comes out. I can't wait to see you there. Thanks for watching.